There's an old saying that when life throws you lemons, make lemonade. But what do you do when you run out of lemons? Or what do you do when the lemons you have turn bad? And where do you go to get those lemons to make fresh lemonade? These are just an analogy. And today we're going to sit down and we're going to talk with a gentleman that I've come to know and respect on his journey as becoming a gentleman. Mr. Floyd Bailey with the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen is going to join us today in the Gentleman's Forum, and we're going to discuss his journey. And he has some interesting and some astounding words of advice to pass on to other gentlemen that are or have gone through the same thing. So let's go into the studio and let's sit down and talk with Floyd Bailey from the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Welcome to the Gentleman's Forum.
Not every conversation needs to be loud. Not every disagreement needs to become hostile. And not every man is interested in spectacle. The Society of Ordinary Gentlemen exists for those who believe that courtesy still matters, that restraint is a strength, and that how one conducts himself, especially when it is inconvenient, is a measure of character. This is not a platform for self-promotion. It is a place for thoughtful discussion, mutual respect, and personal accountability. The Society of Ordinary Gentlemen is an online community with the mission of cultivating modern gentlemen by teaching skills, habits, and mindsets that elevate personal style, communication, health, and lifestyle through community, courses, and mentorship. Membership is open to adults willing to uphold these standards.
Welcome to the Gentleman's Forum. My name is Anthony Bunton, and I am the Managing Director for the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. This podcast is sponsored by the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, where are able to come together and to discuss different topics. And today we have the pleasure of having Mr. Floyd Bailey, who is also the Director of Programs for the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Floyd, it's great to have you here today. And you know, we've been friends for a little bit, and I've always been fascinated and honored to call you a friend and to have you on the board of directors for the society. So, Floyd, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I appreciate those kind words. I'm Floyd Bailey. I currently live in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a single father of 3 children. I was born and raised in Queens, New York. Then I moved with my family to North Carolina, and through life events, it brought me down here.
Well, we are definitely glad to have you with us today, and I wanted to personally tell you that it's indeed an honor to have you in the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen and also on the board of the directors for the society. Today, as we get to discussing things, I want to get your opinion and some takes on different things. I know you've been with the society for quite some time, and if you can, just try to tell our listeners what your experience has been with the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen.
I remember when society started, I was one of the first members who started with, and it basically was a group where we men can believe in traditional values, how we can not just follow the herd, but actually be ourselves and bring classic masculinity back. We stay true to our beliefs, whatever that may be, but most of all, staying true to ourselves as gentlemen and conducting ourselves in a civilized manner in society.
And, that is a rare thing nowadays, and I know that when I first joined the society and I started seeing how the men in the society were. I mean, these weren't just men that were gentlemen because of the style of clothes that they wore. These were men that are dedicated. They're living the lives of being gentlemen, and that's what drew me to wanting to be a member of the society. And having been a part of this, it encouraged me to want to be more active in the society. And I was blessed and asked to be the managing director for the society. And, me and Stephen Arnold, the CEO for the society, we started coming together, and we wanted to make this society a structured organization, and in doing so we wanted to have a constitution and have a board of directors, and during this process and we started looking at different positions on the board and stuff, and it was my desire, and I spoke to Stephen about it, and I was like, I've seen how you are. I've seen the involvement you have and the passion you have for society. And I was like, what better person to be the on the director of programs than for you to be a part of it? We are so happy and honored to have you on the board. I want to ask you a couple questions as we start talking about just being gentlemen in the modern day, because this is rare. You just don't see
It is
too many
very
men
much so.
nowadays that are dedicated, and that's what drew me to you, because I mean, I see the way you carry yourself. I see the way you conduct yourself, we have this ongoing ban within the society where, we refer to you as the mayor of the Society
Right.
of Ordinary Gentlemen, because of the way that you carry yourself. What does masculinity or being a man mean to you in today's world?
It's a mindset. You have a lot of female energy and you have masculine energy. And I feel the male energy it's what offsets the females. I mean, in order for this world to work, you need to have both energies come together and understand each other. But to be masculine is, I feel, staying true to your roots, staying grounded, doing things with authority, and staying behind what you mean.
And that is such a rare quality that we see in men today. One thing I like about the society is you don't see or hear men that are intimidated about telling another man, man, you look nice today, or you look sharp today. You know, that does not lessen your masculinity. And in my opinion, it actually strengthens your masculinity, that you're securing yourself, that you can tell another man that, hey, I like the way you look. I like that suit. I like that haircut, and like you said, it's a balance, and to understand that balance and to be able to cultivate your masculinity, because that the feminine side is what gives us the compassion towards our fellow man, correct?
Yes, honestly, when I started my gentleman's journey, which is about 3 years ago, um, I have a very masculine energy. But for that, I also felt that in order to be a man, I had to treat myself like a junkyard dog. But that's not the case. I mean, now I get pedicures, I wear cologne all the time. It's being masculine is also taking care of yourself, personal hygiene, how you conduct yourself, polishing your shoes, ironing your shirts. It's a certain upkeep that you have to keep up. It's not just male energy, and you're not a dog, you're not an animal, you're a human being. And you should be treated as such. And I feel a lot of people
You
in
know
society do not get. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, sir.
I was saying in society, a lot of men or a lot of people, I feel, just in general, are not respected because we have lost the traditional values that we've had I think in the 50s and the 60s. The traditional male has gone down a very slippery slope to where now you have all these genders, you have he, she, it, all these definitions of the alphabet. And I don't believe in it. I believe that there's male and female.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I agree with you. As growing up, and I had this mindset that, in order to be considered a man, as you stated previously, that you have to be hard. You had to, if you walked around, you couldn't show any type of facial expression. You couldn't, you know, the smell of sweat was what made you a man. You know, and like you said, it was considered as far as me growing up, and I'm sure probably you too, that it was almost taboo that for a man to go get a pedicure or for a man to put on cologne, we had that mindset that it would make us less of a man. And actually,
Yes,
it's just the opposite. He said to be able to take care of yourself and to represent yourself in a gentleman quality. And you're also correct. The 40s, the 50s, the 60s, even the early 70s, where when men dressed like men, they wore slacks, they wore suits.
yes,
The is yeah, fedoras. In the early '70s, yeah, they started getting into wearing jeans and stuff, but even then, they might have had a pair of jeans on, but they had on a dress shirt or a button-down shirt. Nowadays, it's
that's
gotten
correct.
to where the is sweatpants, slider shoes, Crocs, and, it's so refreshing to hear somebody like you discuss this and to you got young men that will look at you and say, "Man, I mean, that man, he's well put together. He looks tough. And then when they see how well dressed you are and the way you conduct yourself, it is hard for these young men to even fathom the idea of that being a well put together man has nothing to do with walking around tough. It has nothing to do with smelling like sweat. Like you said, we're not animals, you know. It's just refreshing to hear you say that. Uh, when we talk about role models, who was your first role model that you could say that helped you with a healthy relationship or to be a leader?
By far, my father, the role model
Um,
that I had was my father. My mother passed away when I was 6 years old, and so it was me and my little brother left in the house, and my mother's mother. And my father worked 3 jobs to support us, so life wouldn't change. Of course, he wasn't around more, but he did what he could so we didn't have less than. So I think a big factor of me having such masculine energy is that I was raised by a single father.
Um, it's interesting point that you being raised by a single parent in a household because so many people nowadays they look at a single parent household as dysfunctional, as not a good environment. But in your case, it was just the opposite. Your dad worked 3 jobs to provide for your family, uh, to make your family stable, but in doing so, he also taught you the value of hard work and dedication, and providing for a family. And that's why when I hear people say, um, uh, being a single parent is not conducive to healthy. No, it has to do with the mindset of the parent and how they're raising their children. There are many famous people. There are many well-known people that come from single family homes, and I was blessed. I had both my parents in my family, but that doesn't make me any better than you. It doesn't make me any less than you. But I do admire the fact that because your dad stepped up and provided and gave you that firm foundation, that lets other people know that, just because you're in a single family home does not mean that you can't exceed and excel in life. And you're the prime example of this.
But I think it's also the morals of that person. I mean, my father, yes, he did raise us singly, but my grandmother, my mother's mother, lived with us at the time when my mother passed. She lived with us until her death. When my mother passed, she was in her 80s. My grandmother died at 92 when I was 14, and she stayed there the whole entire time to take care of us. This isn't my father's grandmother. This isn't my father's mother. This is my mother's mother. So my
Okay.
father stayed in the house. He paid for everything and, he worked all those jobs and he supported me, my little brother. I do have an older sister, but she moved out by then, and my mother's mother until her death. So I think a big part
And
of being a
the,
man is having morals and knowing what's right is right.
sure. And this is something that has carried you into your adulthood, the memories and the upbringing that you have, which brings me to another question. Is that how would you hope people would remember you after you're gone? I mean, you talk about how your dad was your role model. How would you hope that people would remember you?
I wish that people will remember me by someone who stuck to his morals, someone who can admit when he's wrong. I never come off cocky because I say you need to always remain teachable. I think a lot of people think they have this whole world figured out, and that will ruin you.
Agree.
If
I
you
agree.
feel you have all the answers, you're not going to be able to navigate this life because everything constantly evolves, everything changes. So you have to be able to adapt as well as staying true to yourself.
Right, and that is so important because Floyd, we've discussed this in our Sunday live lounge meetings that we have in the
Right.
Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Is that we're on a journey of being gentlemen, and it is not a journey that has an ending point. When you end that journey, you end your life. Like you said, this journey that we're on is a ever evolving journey because, like you said, there's so many variables that will come to play in life, and so that is a good attitude to have as one to be remembered as somebody that had integrity, somebody that was willing to stand in the gap and help others. That is a definite legacy, and I can see that this legacy stemmed from your father, and that's something awesome to have and to remember. Mm, what is a belief that you held 5 years ago or even 10 years ago that you had to unlearn or that you had to let go?
I think it was how I'm supposed to be treated, how I'm supposed to act by being that macho persona where I can't do certain things. I can't dress up when it doesn't call for it. I can't worry about what other people think about me. I have to set a standard where in this day and age, there is none. I do not feel like I need to walk around in Crocs. I do not feel, if anything, in order to dress up, I feel I have to take it up a notch. But I feel in a society where people are walking around in pajamas and slippers as their everyday wear, people go to work like this. And how do you want to be perceived? Even now, or every job that I've had since I started taking this journey, people actually approach me because they want to better themselves, but they're scared to do it. They will look at me with not a arrogance, but a confidence and said, hey, I see you smelling, I see you smelling different every time I come in because I took up cologne buying as a hobby. But they come up to me and ask me because they want to do it, but they're kind of afraid to do it. So I kind of coach them or, wearing suits. People see me how I dress and, they might take stabs at me and, make fun and banter, but I also have a confidence where I won't be deterred. I just know something you don't. That's kind of how my attitude is.
And I agree with you because that was basically my train of thought and something I had to outgrow and unlearn was that you don't have to walk around being hard. Uh, you don't have to have an occasion to put on a suit. You don't have to have an occasion to put on cologne. And I was raised in a Christian background, and I was raised to be a gentleman and come from a family of ministers. And my grandparents always tell us all the time when it comes to smelling good, they're like my grandfather used to tell us, you wear some type of cologne, whether it was a Brute 33, Old Spice, you put something on. My grandmother used to always tell us that, if you can smell yourself, then other people can smell you. Uh, so having to unlearn that habit of having to be walk around being hard and not be able to show emotions, worrying about how, like you said, how other people look at you and having to have a reason or a just cause to look nice. I was the same way. I went from growing up in a Christian home, and my father was an officer in the Air Force and a minister. Then I went to the military, then trying to find myself. I became a biker and rode bikes for years and being a part of a club and stuff to break away from all that and to find myself and to realize that being a gentleman is not what all that was. And I'm
Well,
like you, I had to out.
well, years ago is funny. I was 12 or 13. I was at home and, I was raised up a black male in Queens, New York. And my best friend, who I knew all my life, I think since we were 4 years old, we used to throw rocks at each other's houses. We were just some bad kids. But I remember he came in the house and I think I left it on. I didn't want him to know that I listened to Phil Collins from the Police. This is around 1991. So when he heard it, he said, "Oh snap! You listen to that too?" Like we're under the persona that we should only listen to Tribe Called Quest and Wu Tang Clan, things of that nature. But we both here it is. This we listen to alternative music. We watch 90210. So that whole stigma of being who you supposed to be for society is there's other people like you that they might not say it, but people are thinking along the same lines as you. You don't have to be what society tells you you have to be.
And having said that, this goes back to the whole purpose of the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, because, like you said, there are others out here like us who feel the same way, and but have been afraid to show it publicly because they felt they were alone and they were outcasts. And this society is designed to let men know that yes, you are not alone out here on this journey. That there are other men like you. And it's funny that you say that because growing up, I used to love to listen to the Eagles and
Mhm.
Barry Manilow
Alan
and
Parsons Project and
all these
things like
things that
that.
sure, sure. But we were under the impression growing up, and me and you were that, like you said, you had to listen to, uh, you know, uh, whether it was Wu Tang Clan or Public
Or I'll be
Enemy
less
or
tempted.
exactly, exactly. So this is interesting because just in talking to you, I realized that my journey and my stride is basically no different than yours was.
Mhm.
Here we are in different parts of the country, but yeah, we still have this. We were still fighting this same struggle that each of us have, and it's just amazing that I'm right now. I feel comfortable and knowing that what I was going through, I wasn't a freak of nature. I'm the only one going through that, and that's great. Having said that, how would you classify or how would you structure your day that helps you maintain a healthy a work life and a healthy balance in your day to day? How did your day look for you?
My thing, my things are simple. I mean, I definitely disconnect. I have my work life and I have my home life. I try not to bring my work home ever. I mean, if I was working over and I had to do extra hours like I had in the past, I would stay in my office and do what I had to do, or because I was a manager of a service company, or I would go to the warehouse and work and fix machines. But I would never kind of bring that stuff home. I learned that in the society once I started doing that. I started to leave the work stuff at work. I try not to answer the phone on the weekends. I'll try to dedicate what time I have to my family or just by myself if I was alone. And we'll get into why that happened. But work needs to stay at work, home needs to stay at home. And there needs to be some kind of for me, definite divide in the two. I'm at home, no work, unless it's for the home.
And that is so important because I myself, being a business owner and um, trying to grow a business and stuff, I'm like you. It took me coming to the society understand and to realize that even now when I get home, I take my cell phone. When I get home, like I said, I leave work at work. I used to come home, bring work home
Yes, me
and
too.
have my phone by me, 24/7. Go to bed, it's beside me in the living room or in the den watching TV. My phone is right there, constantly picking it up, checking email, looking for texts. And
Yes,
it
exactly.
wasn't until into society that I've come to realize that, like you said, you got to separate work from home. And now when I get home, I'll have my phone with me for a short period of time, maybe about 30 minutes after I get home. But at when it gets close to dinner, I would take my phone, I would put it on silence, on night ring, and I would take it and put it in my office. And it will stay in my office until the next day when I get up to go to work. And I even used to, I wake up middle of the night, grab my phone, looking, checking for
Yeah.
emails or texts and stuff. As soon as I woke up in the morning, um, before I even prayed, before I even read, did the devotional, before I even went to go work out, my first thing to do was to grab my phone. And I had to break away from that. And being in society has helped me do that because, like you said, work is work and home is home. And I had to learn how to separate those 2. I had to learn how to get away from that.
My problem is home life was not good. So in order to keep my mind straight, I submerged myself in work. So my
Mhm.
lines got blurry. So I was constantly, I did not, I was home and I wasn't appreciated. So for that, I
Right.
submerged myself in work. I felt that I was respected at work. So this is where I'm going to put my energy. And that's
And,
actually a wrong thing. Once I realized what I was doing and I joined the society, I actually still left work at work during work hours. But instead of doing that, I hit the gym and made that my outlet instead of submerging myself in work. And that separated the balance.
and it's interesting that you say that because it makes you wonder how many other men are doing that same thing, are in
Billiards,
a
trust me.
relation. Yeah, they're in a relationship or they're in a marriage or what have you, and it is like you said, it's not a healthy home environment. So their recourse is to bring their work home because, like you said, because that job is their only gratification. They're not getting gratification from home. So, like you said, so that gratification works. So they are bringing their work home, and like you said, I'm sure that, like you said, there's millions of men out there that are doing this. And because they don't have a hobby, they don't have another avenue, another channel,
Outlet.
like you said, yeah, an outlet to get away from that. And I was just as guilty of that as well. So I noticed that you're a well kept gentleman. What is your morning routine like?
Night before, I'll set up my clothes. More likely, I might deter from it, but at least I have a general basis of what I'm going to wear. I keep everything in the same spot: wallet, keys, watch, phone, earpiece. I keep everything together in one spot. I'll wake up, use the bathroom, take my medicine, shower, come in, get dressed, I call them, I think everybody calls them EBCs, everyday carries.
Yes.
So that's things like my watch, my wallet. Don't have it on me now, surprisingly, but I carry a pocket knife everywhere. My phone, I keep my phone on a clip on my hip. And I'm the same way every day. I try to keep order and structure. That way, if something's out of place, I would know something's missing, something's wrong.
So,
But it's kind of that
having
same.
said
I'm sorry, you're saying?
having said that, I'm the same way. I used to rush around because I didn't lay my clothes out the day before. I never had everything in the same spot. And part of this journey that we're on taught me to be prepared and, like you said, to get your things ready for the next day. And having your everyday carry stuff in the same place. And since I started doing that, I find myself not in a rush like I used to be, running around
Hmm.
with a chicken with a head cut off, who trying to find your keys, trying to find your watch, trying to find this, and already have things laid out for the next day, what you're gonna wear and the everything structured so where you're not in a rush. But having said that, I noticed that you have on a nice shirt and everything. There are a lot of men that don't have what you would consider a white collar job. Uh, some people work
I
in
don't. I
you
don't
know,
anymore.
right, and this is the point that I was asked because there are so many men that feel that because they don't wear a suit to work, they don't have a white collar job that when they get home that getting dressed is not worth it. It's a headache. But I noticed every time that me and you have talked, we had conversations when we have our live society lounge meetings, doing the society of ordinary gentlemen. I noticed that you are always well dressed. How does that play for you? Because so many men feel that it's not worth it, and there's a point in my time in my life that I was that same way. I didn't want to come home and take a shower and change clothes and put on something nice. It's like, why am I gonna do that for a couple hours? But I found out for me that coming home, getting those clothes off, taking a shower, putting on some nice clothes, whether I go out or whether I stay at home, it helps me that mindset of that day's work off of me, if that makes sense.
It's To me, it's a mindset. I will get dressed up like this. I mean, I go to work in cargos and company shirt because now I'm a technician. I'm a equipment repair technician, as well as I also do deliveries. I'm filling in for that because we had some layoffs. But I will dress up on the weekend, even if I'm not going anywhere. Even if I'm going to Walmart, I'll still have on slacks and a shirt. I might have on a bow tie. I might have on an ascot. Who knows? But you always want to be presentable. I mean, I have dreads. You can't see them because my hair is in barrel twist right now, but I wear a bonnet to sleep just so I don't mess my hair up. But I'll be damned if I go outside into the street with a bonnet on. I mean, that's not being a presentable person of society. I want to be able to, if somebody sees me. I remember, and I'm going to disclose this, I'm also a member of a So when I did start my gentleman journey, I said that I'm this, and I just so happened to be walking through a supermarket, and I heard somebody call up my name, and I thought somebody was calling me, but I looked, and it was somebody I knew from there. I think they just met me, and we shook hands and we spoke, but I was presentable at the time. You never know who, where, and what you're going to run into in society. You want to always be prepared. And the part two to that is I watched a YouTube a couple years ago, and they talked about, I think the topic was why I wear a suit every day. And the gentleman said he wants to be always, he was actually a former basketball player. And he says he's making all these kind of
Yeah.
deals, and you never know who you're going to run into in society, but you always want to be prepared. And plus, there's a difference between wearing a suit and the suit wearing you. As you see, we're both sitting here, we're having a conversation, just like two good old boys, and we're both relaxed because we wear this pretty much every day. I don't feel stuffy in a suit where I have to feel like a penguin. I'm loose in a suit. I get them tailored. I could relax. I could move around. I have movement. It's just another piece of garment. But the more you wear it, the more comfortable you are in it, the less you even think about
It's interesting you say that because that video that you're talking about, I saw that same video.
it.
He's a former basketball player, and
And he said he used to walk
I was
in shorts and tank tops.
right, and he started talking about how he wears suits every day, and that's what struck me about it. Is like, man, this guy wears he's a basketball player. He wears suits every day. I'm like, I want to see this. So I watched that video, and Floyd, this is so ironic because it was probably about 3 or 4 days later, and it was on a Saturday morning. I was at home and I realized that I had left something in my office that I needed, and it was about 6:30 in the morning. I need to run to the office and grab that right quick. I think we were going to go out of town or something, but it's something I needed to get from the office. So here I am. I'm thinking it's 6:30 in the morning. It's on a Saturday morning, downtown Memphis. Ain't nobody gonna be around. I had on some sweat shorts and a t-shirt that I had been working out when it occurred to me that I left this in the office. So here I am, and normally I don't ever go out of the house without getting dressed, without dressing up. And I'm like, I'm just run downtown, run inside the office, grab it, and be back home. 30 minutes at the most. So here I go. I jump in my car, I run to the office, and Floyd, every single person that I thought I would not see was down there. It it blew my mind. I thought nobody would be around, nobody would see me. I mean, it wasn't like that I looked bad. It was just the fact that they didn't even know who I was because I never come to work in street clothes as far as like sweatpants or sweatshirts or anything like that. And so I literally walked in and people were like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "Hey, Al, how you doing? Hey, Shorty, how you doing?" And they're like, "Anthony?" Yeah, they're like, "Man, we didn't recognize who you were." But like you said, you never leave the house and not thinking that you're not going to be noticed or you're not going to run into somebody. Because here I am thinking that there'll be nobody around. The one time that I thought nobody would be around, it's like everybody and their brother was down there, and
Mhm.
it just blew my mind. So yes, you're definitely right in this aspect. Mhm. Let me ask you a question. What small habit that had a massive impact on you and your life or in your business life? What small habit that you can recall?
Hmm. Small habit? I think not caring what people think. Me dressing up like this was for the better. I mean, like I said, I was a
Mhm.
manager of a service outfit, and I'm not one of those people who would just sit behind the desk. And even though my guys will complain that, hey, we're your technicians, let us do our thing. You just go somewhere, like go to a meeting or something. Like let us, even if the work piles up, let us do our jobs. But I will come in with cargos. I will come in with, a company polo. And I remember seeing somebody in the lobby. I think she was interviewing for a job. And I said, good luck. And she wound up getting the job. But she said when she met me, just that interaction, she thought I was the janitor because I had about 50 keys on my side, like bookmen from Good Times. I'm a person, I'm the kind of leader that I'm not just going to steer the ship, I'm going to help my guys row the ship. So if I have to go fix something, I'm going to go fix it. So I always wear polos. I mean, I always wear cargos and a company polo. But then I stopped and I said, let me start dressing more professionally. Let me start coming in the suits that I wear on the weekend. Why can't I wear it to work? Even though it was very business and formal. But still, why shouldn't set the standard? And the owner loved it. And I'm telling you how far I went with that company. I actually, not only did I make manager after COVID, they opened a second facility, which was going to be my facility until I got terminated for something, but it's beyond my control. But I started dressing the standard. It was even to the point where we were having a meeting and we had this guy come in. I think we had this people come in to do a tour for Kaizen, which is like a Japanese troubleshooting thing. And he said, I want everybody to come in when this gentleman comes, and I want you to dress business professional. No need to wear a tie. And it said Floyd, just to pick at me because I wear suits every day. I started wearing suits every day. So everybody started laughing, and I said, you know what? I know exactly what I'm going to wear. I'm going to put on the cardigan. I'm going to put on a knitted top. I'm still going to show y'all up because I'm not wearing this for y'all actually wear this for myself. I wear cologne for myself because it makes me feel good. It makes me to know that I am being the best version of Floyd I could be.
And when I experienced the same type of thing, being that intentional, and it was difficult for me in the beginning because I always felt that I was being stared at and people were watching me. And when you make that transition from, like you said, from dressing like everybody else to wearing nice things, most people think that you're going to court or you're going to a funeral or you're going to a wedding or you're going to some type. They do not understand that you're just dressing up because you want to look nice and because you're dressing up for you. You're not dressing up for anybody else. And I had to get past that myself of not worrying and not when I say not caring, it's not that you don't care, it's the fact that you care more about who you are and not what other people think about you.
Right. I got divorced last year. So September, I was at the courthouse waiting for the verdict on how things were going to go. And I got there early. I got there because to me, you have to be punctual. So I got there, think court was 9 o'clock. I was there 8:30. So I'm sitting upstairs outside the courthouse door, and guy walks up to me, young Spanish dude, and he says, "Can you help me with this?" And it was his tie. That's all right. Well, I'm still learning to do ties and different knots, but he said yours looks a lot better than mine. So I helped him out, and we did the tie and everything. He said, "Oh, great." He said, "Are you here for a case?" I said, "Yeah, I'm actually getting divorced. I'm here for the verdict." He's like, "Oh, really? Thought you were a lawyer." I was like, "Nope, no lawyer. I've just done." But I actually got to wear my suits. I got to wear my shoes and a bow tie and everything. But you just want to be presentable. If whatever the dress code is, I'm going to try to take it up a notch because I want to put my seal on it. I want to smell different than anybody else in the room because I want them to say, yeah, everybody looks nice, but that guy right there, I want to leave that lasting impression.
And that is something that as a gentleman we should all strive is to have that brand, have that signature that, like you said, that dictates you different from
Honestly, I
everybody
think a
else in
lot
that
of
room.
people are afraid. I think a lot of people are afraid in society, and this is why they dress the way they dress because they want to fit into the herd. They just want to look like sheep. Because if you step outside of that box, people are going to see you. You're going to stick out like a sore thumb, but you're not doing anything wrong. That's what you have to realize. You have to have the mentality to know I'm not doing anything wrong here. Anything, I'm doing something right. And you will have people following you. You will have people asking you questions, not because they're making fun of you, but because they respect something in you and they wish they had the courage to do that. And they say, well, how did you get over that? Can I do that?
And essentially you said, because I've learned this myself, is that you can tell who the most confident people that are in a room because they are
Hmm.
the ones that walk in and go straight down front. The ones that don't have the confidence. They're the ones that are sitting in the back or up against the walls. The ones that have the most confidence are the ones that go down and take that front seat. And I learned that, and because I learned that even if I don't feel confident, Imma go down front. I might not feel confident at that moment, but Imma look like I'm confident. Imma go down front. Imma be in the first or second row. Imma be right there, and because that's what people look at if you have a speaker or somebody that's, let's say, for instance, you're going to apply for a job. I guarantee you, person conducting the interviews, when they walk to a room full of people, they are looking to see who's up front because those are the ones
That,
that they want.
but there's also a saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
Sure,
I'm
sure.
sorry, but books have covers because I'm going to look at the cover of a book and that's what's going to judge me if I want to read it or not.
Mhm. And let's be real. Everybody says that you shouldn't judge anybody, but it's the world.
You
People are
shouldn't,
gonna
but
judge
people
you.
do. That's human nature.
Right. That are human nature. And so therefore, you should always look your best. You should always be your best, especially when you don't think anybody's watching because somebody is watching.
You're watching, but why wouldn't you want to be the best version of yourself for you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Why not? You are the most important person to you.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And having said that, let me ask you a question. In a world that's becoming increasingly casual, what modern day etiquette or etiquette rule that you think is most important to maintain?
Never breaking your principles. Standing behind your morals and never breaking your principles.
I agree.
I'm gonna tell you, I went through it with my management job. This was I don't might get a lot of slack for this, but during COVID, when the vaccines came out, I was against it. And I just newly got that position. I've been in that job for 10 years. The owner of the company came at me and wanted me to get the vaccine because we handle a lot of government accounts, and I refused. But to me, in this life, there's everything's a transaction. So for this transaction that he wanted me to get this, what I would call a medical procedure, either I was going to sell him on a reason that I'm not doing it, or he's going to sell me on a reason on why I should get it. Now, when I'm telling you, he threatened my job because he's the owner of the company. He threatened my job. He removed me from my office, which I just got that I fought 7 years to get, and told me I had to work in the warehouse. And to me, that was great. Hey, I'm used to working on machines anyway. And now the customer service team is not coming bothering me constantly. Like this is great for me. But whatever he did to try to push me, I stayed on my morals. And I think that made him respect me more. I never wind up getting it, but he said to himself, this is just me thinking, with my knowledge, if I get rid of him, he's going to go to competitor. Do I really want him on the ops team or do I want him on my team? Because I battled him and I lost. I stuck to my
You know,
gun, I stuck to my morals, I stuck to my principles, and I won.
it's interesting that you said that because that was exactly going to be my next question was what decision that scared you but you made it anyway because it was the right thing to do. And you just answered that question.
Yeah, I got another one for that. Um, being in a being in a family where my mother passed, and my parents were I have I have a 14-year-old sister and a 3-year younger brother, all by the same mother and father. I'm a junior. So when my mother passed when I was little, I said I always wanted that kind of relationship that I hear the block talk about, that my family talk about. Your mother and father loved each other so much. So I went looking for that, and had a marriage. I stayed in the marriage for 20 years. Things happen in the marriage. A lot of things on both cases, not just hers, but mine also. But I decided, as much as I didn't want to get divorced, their marriage should be forever, I decided to file for divorce because I wasn't happy. I was living in as a shell of myself. I was living in the basement. I had it in my head that I'm just staying for the kids. I'm just going to be here. If I stay down here and away from her, we're going to have mutual respect. And it didn't work. It didn't work. The fights got worse. And eventually I said, I need to get out of this unhealthy relationship because it's not fair. I'm a prisoner in my own home. So I think
You
that
know,
was a big decision that I made
I'm
2, 3 years ago.
and I'm glad you shared that because I can't tell you how many men have or are going through something like that. I went through a similar thing years ago in a previous marriage myself. You know,
I didn't know that.
yes, and having that mindset, everybody's scared of you know taking that step of what's going to happen about being by yourself, or how is this going to play out living wise, work wise. But that is a situation that you don't want to make, and but as you stated, it needed to be done. And
I think every man going into marriage this day and age, I know I did in 2005. I said, nope, not me and mine. We're going to be the exception of the rules. Everything's going to be gravy. We're going to raise kids. We're going to buy a house. We're going to have the picket fence and 2.5 kids or whatever they say. And sometimes it'd be your situation. And you just stay complacent. You just stay in that place. And lucky for me, I did wake up and said, what the hell am I doing?
right,
Like, find an outlet, go do something, start hiking. I hit the gym. I gave up cigarettes. Like I said, I'm celebrating 12 years of sobriety this year. It's all about
congratulations.
being the best version of yourself. I'm
Right,
47. So like I told the owner when I did tell him that I'm getting a divorce, and I literally sat in, I'm not joking you. I sat there talking to him. This is the same guy who was threatening to fire me that now respects me. And I'm sitting there in his office, and I started crying. And I said, I don't like this. I said, I feel weak. I actually feel like a little bee. And he says, you're not. You're passionate about your family. I'm sorry, I never went through a divorce, so I can't tell you how to be, but you you're passionate about your family, and that's why, I understand why you're crying. It doesn't make you any less weak, but I actually went to him and confided in him to say, hey, I'm going through a divorce. I just want you to know that I'm going through something. It's not going to impact my work performance, but I just want you to know if I seem kind of cloudy minded, I'm actually going through something right now. And he was sympathetic because I was honest. I was genuine. I'm not trying to hide something. I'm just being who I can be, and that's what a lot of people respect from me.
sure. Having you saying that, this is a good lead into this question. How has your definition of success changed over the last 10 years, with everything that you've gone through, and you're being a part of the society of ordinary gentleman? How would you define how your outlook on success has changed?
um, it really has nothing to do with society. I've always felt the same way. I've always got in a job, try to learn as much as I can and
Hmm.
excel. I never want to stay stagnant. I never want to stay complacent. I always want to either move into another job where I can go forward or I can excel. I have to move through the ranks. I can't just stay here and say I want to be here and that's it. I mean, like my last job, my 5-year plan was, I mean, it wasn't a 5-year plan. It was just my plan was to go from warehouse guy fixing stuff in there. I went to lead tech. From lead tech, I made manager. I skipped over supervisor, went to manager. Then I hit my next thing was I want to get my own facility. So then that happened. Then it was all right. I want to hit a certain amount of money. But I realized in that job, even though I was terminated position, because now I can grow that business where that business was here and I grew it to here. And as well as I grew with it, now I could do that again. I could start this bottom ceiling and move up. When I got this job, which it took me 2 months after my, not the owner of the company, but the general manager, I spoke to everybody and they said, you know what? Great. Go over there and do great things like you did here for us. And we still all speak to this day.
That's amazing. And that's Floyd. I've listened to you and we talked before and everything. You're such a well-grounded individual. And what would you attribute to that? What topic or hobby that you randomly have a passion for that helps you deal with the day-to-day life and stuff?
Music. That was me and my father's bond. My father was my best friend. He passed in 2008. But as a kid, I can remember leaving my bike at the end of the block in New York and running home and sitting in the basement, listening to my father with his music. And I'm talking Isaac Hayes, Al Green, Stephanie Mills, all the things like that. Being my sister was so much older, when I was born, my father was 43. So I have a very old soul. So I inherited all that stuff from him. The Moran stereo system, all the records. I have my own collection of CDs where my brother told me my father used to come upstairs and to my bedroom to try to take his records back. And he'll notice I'll have the same things, but I'll have the same albums, but they're on CD. And it's kind of like a proud moment for him because he's like, all right, the kid, I got good taste. New Year's Day, my son was doing the same thing. He was upstairs playing his music. I'm downstairs playing mine. And I'm listening to this alternative music. I mean, maybe not Johnny Cash like I listen to, stuff like that, but he's playing Fleetwood Mac and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, I did good. But
You know,
music is a stress reliever for me, big time. All kinds of genres.
and I'm the same way. Matter of fact, me and you had this conversation one Sunday during the live lounge, and we're talking about vinyl records. And right behind me, I have a record player, and I have one in my living room, and that's kind of like my outlet too. I guess I'm stuck in the old stuff because I love Motown. I love music. I love jazz music. I love music from the '60s and '70s and the early '80s. And I'm like you. It's soothing. It relaxes me, and I love the genre of different type of music that I love to listen to on a regular basis.
I mean, my daughter, when I, the two youngest, unfortunately, they don't talk to me since the split up. But my daughter and me, we were listening to opera. We were trying to get into opera.
Mm.
It,
You
it, it
know,
was it was just it was just something to do. It's something different.
I never
And
really
now, but
I never really got into, wanting to listen to opera and, until one day, I actually sat down and there was something that it was on TV, I think. I was changing and but the the tone and the words kinda got my attention. I stopped and just started listening to it, and I was like, "This is really interesting." And, it really caught my attention. I started listening to it, and now I like to listen to opera, is having that ability to appreciate music, not for the words, but just, for the lyrics and the sound and the quality and stuff, whether it's country, whether it's jazz, whether it's classical. I think that makes a man a well-rounded person.
I years ago, it was around 2000. I remember because I had a Honda Civic. It's like right before Fast and the Furious came out. I remember I was talking to this girl. Actually, I was working with her, and she was sitting in my car, and I was playing Isaac Hayes' "I Stand Accused," and it had the whole monologue about the guy rapping to the girl about being together. And she said, "What are you listening to?" I was like, I can't even explain it. Like, you just don't know nothing about it. Don't worry. I know. I know what it is.
You know, Floyd, it has been a pleasure to sit down and talk to you this evening on the podcast and to discuss a lot of things that I think a lot of our listeners, a lot of gentlemen that are going through or have gone through. that felt that they were alone. And for us to sit here and talk about these things and discuss the different aspects of our masculinity and uh, how we deal with situations and the trials and tribulations that we've all gone through. I think that you've helped a lot of men today just listening to you. And I want to thank you for coming on to the Gentlemen's Forum. And I want to thank you for being an active member in the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen and being on the board of directors of as the program director.
Honestly, this is no different than what we do every Sunday, and I wish more people would join because we don't just speak about one topic. We speak about many different things. However, like water, however it runs, we just go with it. And it's so great because it's not like when you post and you talk about one topic, we just talking about abundance. We maybe talk about 15 different things within an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yes. And I'm
It's
glad
just
you
a great
said
experience.
I'm glad you said that because I want to encourage everybody that's listening. If you don't know anything about the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, there are several ways that you can learn more about us. We have a website, www.beagentleman.org, or you can go on the internet. You can go to this full website, look for the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. We are on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on X, we're on LinkedIn. Find us. I
Yeah.
promise you, if you are looking for a place that you feel that you can fit in, and you want to grow and learn and about being a gentleman, becoming. Let me tell you something. There are so many men in this society that have a wealth of knowledge and are willing and able to help you get on your journey. There are a group of men. We're growing every day because this society is not that we just take anybody that walks in the door, and we are looking for men that have the same mindset, that want to
Hmm.
be gentlemen. They want to live as, they want to grow as gentlemen. They want to be around other gentlemen. And like Floyd said, our live podcast, our live sessions on Sundays, and we're getting ready to expand and do some during the week. It's not just on a particular topic. We get in there and we start talking about things. And like Floyd said, it just starts flowing. We'll talk about sports. We'll talk about politics. We'll talk about hobbies and different things. And just to be in the presence of other men that are having decent and engaging conversation is something that you want to
Hmm.
experience. And like Floyd said, we want to encourage more people because this is what it's all about. And I want to thank you for joining us today on the Gentleman Forum. I want to thank our guest, Floyd. Thank you for being here. Um, and it's okay with you. I want to invite you back again because I want us to continue
I want to come back.
whole thing because we have so many men out here that I know can learn from you. And I know that your experience that you've shared with us today is just the tip of the iceberg. So I want to challenge
Pick,
each and every one
by
of
all
you
means,
today.
please pick my brain.
Be the best version of you that you can be. Be the gentleman that's inside of you. Get involved in organizations like the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. And I hope that you will continue to follow us on these podcasts, the Gentlemen's Forum. I hope that you would join us in the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. And I challenge you to take the time, spend time for yourself, get to know yourself, get to know the men that are around you, surround yourself with positive men doing positive things. And we'll see you next time on the Gentlemen's Forum. Thank you. Be blessed and have a good one.
Thank